a way to make an introduction.
How are you? Are there two of us? Hi, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's pick up one more time. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us today.
You're welcome.
Now, Doom Generation was your first film. Talk about working on Doom Generation.
Doom Generation was super punk, and it was really, really disruptive. And I don't think there's been a movie like it before or since. And it was crazy hard work. I'd never done a film before. I'd never acted before. And I was discovered, kind of standing on a street corner. And it was like this weird, and then I was like, well, I'll just pretend like I'm reading a book. That's how I'll act. I used to interpret characters. And then all of a sudden I'm acting in this completely bizarre, Greg Araki world. It's basically living like a Warhol pop art, Woman of Wonder with just, with 666 and heads exploding. So it was awesome, in summary.
Very cool. Now, moving on, talk about how you were hired for Scream.
Scream I auditioned for, and a little inside story, my lawyer pissed them off by asking for too much money, I guess, and then they made me re-audition, and then gave me a quarter of the salary of everybody else, as punishment to the lawyer. Isn't that nice? But the girl always loses in that town. Fuck her. But Wes Craven is an angel. He used to babysit my dog Bug on the weekends, and I had the best time on that. I thought like every experience was going to be like that. He's so gentle, he's really professorial, and for those of you who want to be directors or things like that, he was driving a taxi in New York. He was living in Ohio, decided he wanted to direct, moved his whole family to New York, drove a taxi, and is where he is now. And he didn't have any help from the film industry, nothing like that. And he did it. And kind of like his eyes got in the way with no help and nothing out there. And it can be done. I was talking to somebody earlier here who was asking for advice on acting. And to which I would say to anybody who wants to be creative, because we need more artists. We need more people to disrupt society. We need more people to be punks. We need more people to say no and stand up. And that's what I think the through line of my career has been. The through line of most of the directors that I've worked with, pardon my French, they just don't give a fuck. And I've lost the ability to give a fuck. And that's what's so awesome about life right now. I don't get upset about it. I mean, it's just like, I realize the role of an artist in this society is to cause controversy, is to make people talk and think, it is to wake people up. And I've been lucky enough to work with people that also are in line with that ideology.
So you would say that you were more of a fan of working in indie film rather than studio production?
I'm more of a fan of indie people. You can have an indie person in a studio production too.
Yeah.
I've been in studio productions and I'm pretty indie, I'm pretty anti-authoritarian. I don't like people telling me what to do, which makes it difficult on set. And they tell you what to do all day long. That's why I'm directing.
Speaking of that, as your role as Tatum, how much freedom did it make that character your own or what?
I was given total freedom. As I have in most movies, honestly. I've pretty much been left alone. So I usually think either A, I'm doing it really badly and they don't want to talk to me about it, or B, I'm left doing something right. So I'm usually left kind of to my own devices. I feel like I've been self-directed a lot, for better or worse. And I think I don't work that often because I don't like very much. And because I don't have to. I don't have to keep up with the Joneses. I don't subscribe to that idea.
I read that you did all your own stunts on Scream, is that true?
I did do all my own stunts in Scream. That was me going up and down in the garage door. I had bruises from, my shoulders to my hips, and I felt like a total badass. And I've done most of my stunts since then.
With some of the great young actors in Scream, talk about what went on behind the scenes, especially with the Craven, that is kind of I'm sure they're
Matthew stories as much as David Arquette stories. David and I you'd get real bored. We were shooting in a small town and we would chase them. It was like prom night or something. So we tried to find parties to go to. So we got a car and started chasing all the prom limos and crashed like 10 high school parties. And they're like, who are these weird old people? Get out of here.
And so as you were making the film, I mean, obviously you knew who Wes Craven was. Did you think that it would have the legs that it has had so far to keep finding audiences?
I don't think, I didn't really know who Wes Craven was. I didn't know who John Carpenter was. I had grown up in a way that my dad was having us watch like 30s, 40s, and 50s films in the 60s, but not horror and not like that. I had to do some major catch up with. Otherwise, it's probably good that I didn't know. I would just stare at him. So it was my second movie. I didn't know what the hell was going on, frankly. I was just knowing I was going and having fun and playing a cool character. And I love that character. She was right.
Now, moving to Jawbreaker. Talk about learning this film. The subject matter has been compared to Heather's Crossword Clueless. Talk a little bit about working in that film and what it means to you.
Jawbreaker was super fun. That was like, Courtney's like, I think if you threw Betty Davis into high school and threw in a little like sociopath into the mix, like I feel like I'm not bad, I'm just drawn this way. Like what? I think it would be really awesome to do a sequel to that. I think the only movie I kind of want to do a sequel to. I think that would be really punk. I think, again, it's another one that kind of disrupted the system of typical teen movies with a lot of the gay overtones, anything that you see in there, and I think at the time, and even now, you don't see that in movies, but that's reality. The reality is that we are like one big mixed up, fucked up family, gay, straight, anything. And to see that on screen, and to see that especially in a high school movie, I would imagine as a kid viewing that, like, yeah, I see myself there, even in this weird situation. And, of course it's fun to rule a school. It's fun to rule anything. And to do it in high heels is even better.
Do you keep in touch with some of your castmates from that film?
I do. Julie Benz, who cracks me up, I always remember about Julie is she kept a diary in high school of every outfit she ever wore and never repeated one. I was like, girl, you must have been rich. But, okay. It's, and Rebecca, and Darren, a lot, more than any of them.
So you were then cast as Paige in Charm. Talk about, Shannon Doherty was not that guy. Talk about coming into a show where it was established and now you're new to it.
Well, it's like, I wonder if it was like kind of a way of survival. I didn't really let myself think about it because I've been asked that question a lot, especially then. And it was not weird for me because I hadn't seen the show, so I didn't know what was going on. But looking back, it's really daunting. The crew forms a family, and the crew, especially the hour-long shows, are the hardest in show business, the memory stuff. You work 70 to 100 hours a week for 5 years. We had a month and a half off in the summer. And it exhausted me to the point where I've never done a show again. But Paige, they wrote the role in such a way that it dovetailed with my experience, in that I was a newbie to the whole, to me, I was a newbie to being like those kind of hours for that length of time. And Paige was on a journey of discovery at the same time. She was adopted, finding out she had sisters, and going through the whole thing. So in a weird way, I think that kind of helps psychologically. But it'd be really awkward. I imagine that's what it's like if you're like a foster kid and you go into a big family that's already together and you feel awkward and weird at the dinner table. But yeah, there's definitely elements of that.
Do you have any favorite episodes of Charm that you always kind of recall?
I love Charm Noir because they did that one for me because I know I love classic film. It was in black and white. And we used Joe Kennedy Sr.'s old limo that he used to have trysts with actresses in one of the scenes. That was cool. And I hated the Goddess episode just because I was like, why am I in a toga? that's Roman. And nobody listened to me like usual. But it was really fun. It was, the thing is, what was great about that show for me as an actor was that in 8 days, which is how long it took us to shoot one episode, which is about half of the film, lengthwise. So a movie, a big day of shooting is that you get 1 day of the script, or 1 page of the script done. On a TV show, we're doing 8 to 11 pages a day. So it's really, really intense. But in that 8 to 11 pages, I could cry, I could do comedy, I could do like sisterly love, I could, do big fight sequences. There's so much going on that it was never really boring.
So, you were cast as Pam in Death Proof. Talk about what it was like working with Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell is probably my favorite, besides Peter O'Toole, my favorite co-star. And Kurt and I are still close. And he is, everything that Kurt Russell seems to be, he is. And it's nice to be able to say that, because you can't always say that. And he's a good man. I was like, can you adopt me? Like, after you're done telling me, can you take me home and I'll be your pet? He's just a good man to be around. I saw him at Sundance this year. The movie I directed was up for Grand Jury Prize. It was amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Talk about the film that you directed.
I directed a movie called Dawn. It's a full feature in 18 minutes. I wanted to experiment with that. It's set in 1961, and it will be available for viewing mass audience-wide pretty soon. I'm negotiating a deal right now for it to be online. There's a couple of places that I'm trying to decide between. It's been in numerous film festivals. It's really, I'm really proud of it. It's my own voice, kind of for the first time. I don't know if you guys can relate to basically spending most of your life saying words that other people have written for you. And usually, frankly, a man who sometimes is what their idea of a woman is, or what they can be. And I think sometimes there's just a lot more stories to tell. And the fact that we have so few female directors and so few female voices, it just means that 50% of our stories are not there. And we as an audience, I'm an audience member before anything else. You should be demanding, like, I want the other side too. Because for me, like, I just can't see Captain America again. No offense, Captain America. You know what I'm saying? There's value in all that, but there's value in a lot of other things too. And art is like, it is subjective, and that's what's great about it. So getting to do a movie where I directed it, I did the production design. That means like every piece of furniture, every painting on the wall, everything like that I did as well. And it's for me it spoke louder than anything I've been able to say. And I hope if you guys follow me on Twitter or Instagram, @RoseMcGowan, I'll keep you guys abreast of when it's going to be really soon. I think I want it to be in about 2 more festivals and then it's on.
What were some of the challenges going from in front of the camera to behind the camera?
You know what? I was never nervous. I felt like I took my rightful place. And it doesn't mean that it wasn't daunting, and it didn't mean that there weren't snafus, like we're in the woods, and all of a sudden the fire department tried to shut us down. So we needed to hire Saturday afternoon a giant water tanker semi, otherwise they're going to shut us down. Somehow do it, you just do it. But overall, I raised 7 brothers and sisters. I know how to run a ship, and I know how to run a crew. And it's estimated I've spent over 57,000 hours on sets. And there's very few people that can say that. So I know what I'm doing. Acting is actually scarier to me. My heart races more, a lot more. Right when they say action, on any take, my heart starts racing. And then the second I disappear into the character, it stops. But it terrorizes me a lot more.
So there's a room full of your fans. Who are you a fan of? And if you could, you said you were a fan of classic films. If you can give someone sort of a starter package of films to watch, what would those films be?
That's a great question. Thank you. No one's ever asked me that. I hosted a show on Turner Classic Movies. If you guys don't watch it, I suggest you check it out because I know at first it sounds funny when people see the black and whites and people are talking like this, see? But the thing of it is like they came from stage, and stage at the time was very over the top. And they went into talkies, so they needed people. Eventually, like one of the reasons, like a silent movie star, we want to start with silence, I would say Clara Bow. watching Clara Bow film. She wasn't a trained actress, so she was really free on screen. And then I would go into probably a screwball comedy, like a Preston Sturges. That's a very amazing director who directed a movie called The Lady Eve with Barbara Stanwyck, who is probably my all-time favorite actress. She could just do anything. She could play strong, she could be weak, she could be beautiful. She wasn't classically beautiful, but she could be beautiful. She could act beautiful. And that was fascinating to me. Night of the Hunter, this seminal movie. I based the tension in my movie Dawn on Night of the Hunter, the tension in that movie, how they ratcheted it up. And Charles Laughton, who's one of our great American actors, directed that. It was his only movie he directed. It failed at the box office, and he never directed it again, which is a pity. And Robert Mitchum's probably my favorite male actor, hero of mine. He's the only one probably in the studio system who survived getting busted for drugs, weed. And he's in jail, and he's like, no, I'll take that. What else? It Happened One Night is a flawless film, the Philadelphia story, a flawless film. Go into Godard's films, because if you like Iraqi, who's heavily influenced by Jean-Luc Godard, The French New Wave. Anything, just watch and get engaged, because even if it is black and white or just color, whatever it is, there's a story and you can get lost in it. Just give it a chance if you're not used to it, I think. And there's so many, I could go on forever. That's why I hosted the Essentials, because I wanted to kind of bring it to a different generation so it's not lost. You know?
So,
where are you going, you fuckers? Charming as always.
So, in Planet Terror, obviously, you had to work with one leg.
You know how it is.
Yeah. Talk about how that physical role, how you were able to do that.
Well, in Planet Terror, I had a 10-pound cast molded to my leg. My toes were taped to my chin, and I was resting on a ball bearing, so it could be either the table leg or the gun. And then it had LED lights on it, and they'd never done it before. And I had to jump higher, run faster, jump over a 50-foot wall with a mushroom cloud of fire behind me that burned off half my hair. I brought it in that movie, and I got really, really injured on that movie. It prevented me from doing Red Sonja and some other action movies, but the movie stands, and the character stands.
Yeah.
They were idiots who released it on Easter. Like, what?
Now, a lot of women in horror traditionally have been sort of fodder for the killers. Now we see more empowerment to women in horror films and films in general. Talk about your feelings on that sort of progression that you've sort of seen.
I mean, it's empowerment, but it's still empowerment in a tiny skirt.
Very true, so.
You know, I want to see you empowered in a tiny skirt. See how you do it.
Nobody wants to see that.
Sometimes you want to wear one, sometimes you don't. And I know that about you. I've seen pictures. Fetching. There are a lot more. I mean, I think it's funny when I do die in something or someone kills me, I'm like, wait, what? I'm only 5'5", but I'm supposed to be killing you. Didn't you read the right script? What? I live. But it is, I do enjoy being at men on screen. It is like a strange pleasure for me. Because, shit, how many women have gotten their asses kicked by men on screen? Think about it. It's like, if I can just give a little bit back to society. No, just kidding.
Now, you were able to work with Quentin Tarantino. Talk about, he always seems very energetic. Talk about working with him on set.
Quentin, I used to think Quentin would be like at home at like 4 a.m, sad and depressed and quiet. That is not true. Never have I seen that man quiet. But he is Quentin. He's a singular voice in American cinema. And he speaks for cinema. He's tough to work with. He's exacting. And if you understand, I think Quentin would want to play every role if he could. That's my understanding of Quentin. I don't know if he would say that. I feel that way. And that's not a bad thing. That's a writer can best inhabit their characters by understanding the acting portion of it. And I think he has a lot of fun that way. It was, you go to his house, I was during the auditioning process, and he was always giving me tasty beverages. Would you like a tasty beverage? And then I would pour the tasty beverage in his plant because it was all alcohol every time. It was like, my tasty beverage will have me hammered going down your hill, Quentin. But he's great. He has a theater in his house, this really great classic movie theater, and we watched a lot of, to prep for the movies, a lot of the old pulp movies and grindhouse films. And he's just there and you want to pick his brain.
Are you a fan of those type of films as well?
Not really.
Yeah, that's fine. But this kind of seems
I see their point. I think it would have been really interesting to see those in context of the time. As a response to what else was going on in cinema, that would have fascinated me. But to see it on its own without that, it's not that exciting for me to see a woman strung up in the middle of fire. It's just not.
Right. So, working with many directors that you have, what type do you like most? One that gives you freedom, one that gives you freedom but also has strong direction?
I like freedom, and if I'm stuck, just like a lot of times the director can come and just say, you hope for this one little thing that kind of unlocks it for you. I don't like it when directors just take me and like move me around like an object, which happens a lot. But they hired me to, I'm an actor, we're trying to wait for sound to go away, sorry. It's interesting. Each person is a totally different beast, and what was crazy about doing Charmed was that every 8 days it was a different director, which I'd never experienced. I was used to people like 2, 3, 4 months. And it really, the tone of the piece takes on the personality of the director. If the director is kind of a slow speaker, that episode would become slower, or the opposite. And so obviously, conversely, I think my favorite thing Quentin's ever done, I think the filmmaking and the opening of Inglourious Basterds, that first 17 to 20 minutes is flawless filmmaking. That's amazing. The whole movie's amazing, but that right there is to me stellar. But then I would love to have a Tarantino movie where every single character he's ever directed somehow happens in the movie. That would be Jackie Brown, all of a sudden you have me, that Christoph Waltz, think of the populace that he's created. It's kind of an amazing landscape. I've never thought about it that way, but it's pretty cool.
Now that you're transitioning into directing, do you find that you sort of take bits and pieces from directors you work with, or are you just trying to be yourself?
I'm not trying to be myself, I am.
There you go.
For better or worse. I've studied what not to do. I've studied what to do. I've seen how people work with crews. I've seen how people treat people badly. I would never do that. I believe in respecting other people as human beings. I believe in respecting other artists. And I don't believe in denigrating people. I have worked with people that are very mean to crew. And it's beyond unacceptable to me. And it's inexcusable, and I won't go see the movies. A lot of the movies that I've done I haven't seen. Because somebody's mean either to me or people around me, I can't endorse the product.
A lot of people ask actors and actresses what their favorite role was. I want to know what role you're most proud of. What you look back and say, wow, that's what I got into acting for.
Well, I didn't get into acting. I got into it because I needed money for rent. So, that's, I never really had that, which is a really weird, I know what I'm capable of and what I haven't gotten to do. And for a long time, I think I was really pigeonholed, or it was really in LA, it's oh, you're not Reese Witherspoon, you're not in the cover of In Style, there's something fucked up with you. And I'm like, yo, I think there's something fucked up with you. And that's okay, and it took a long time to be okay with being different, to know that I have a different voice, and to know that I'm not going to be like everybody else. The thing for me, Cherry Darling was probably my favorite in the sense that it was most like me, and I know what I went through in that film. And it was the worst set I've ever been on, the hardest set I've ever been on, most abusive set I've ever been on. But I fucking pulled that shit off as a motherfucker. Because Cherry was like anybody could have done, and neither will I.
So, sort of a cliche question, but
And it's a known thing. I'm not revealing state secrets here. I didn't take an oath like in the mafia to not say anything. People are like, oh, she said something. I'm like, yeah, so you need to fire me.
what advice would you have for a young actress that is trying to get into films? Because, I mean, you've seen it, you've done it.
Direct.
Direct?
Make your own content, star in it yourself if you want to. And now, you guys, I mean, there's so many options for people that want to create. Like old, young, this, that, like it doesn't matter. Just put it on film and learn how to do iMovie, learn how to edit, stick your friends in it, stick yourself in it. And then start developing characters, read, study classic film, because that's where the greatness lives. And when people are actors, or directors, or executives, whatever they do, and they have the knowledge of classic film, I have a very hard time respecting it. Because that would be like an architect not knowing who Frank Lloyd Wright was. And I think that might be like some essential information.
Right. Now, is there anyone in Hollywood that you haven't worked with that you would like to work with?
Yeah. I would love to work with Todd Solondz. I would love to work with Todd Haynes. Pretty much anyone named Todd. Any Todds out here? I want to work with you. All right, let's do it. Gosh, there's so many actresses and actors that are just, like, I would love to do something with Annette Bening. Julianne Moore, I think, is beyond tremendous. A lot of my heroes are dead. It doesn't mean that I don't have heroes now. I actually think like Russell Crowe would be amazing to act with. I think he's beyond underrated. He is an incredible actor. Whatever you think of him personally or whatever, that man like can bring it. And I would love. I relate to warriors. I relate to fighters. I relate to scrappy people. So I guess those are the kind of people I want to work with.
Now, do you find yourself watching many Hollywood films?
No.
No. Or would?
I mean, it depends. I don't know. It goes in waves.
Now, is there?
If it's all superhero movies, no.
Now, is there an indie director or someone that's on your radar that you're really enjoying that's current right now?
If you gave me some names, I could tell you.
Now, well, in the horror genre, there's the Soska twins.
Okay.
They're two twins that are female directors in the horror genre, and they have several movies out, and again, I think they are doing what you're talking about.
Then I need to watch those movies.
I recommend them.
SOSKA?
Yes, it's Dead Hooker in the Trunk is the first one. Quentin Tarantino, and then
I wrote that song.
American
It's
Mary.
a country song.
American Mary was their second film. It's something like you've been talking about, just females kicking the door open and showing what they can do.
I mean, I think it's time. It's like just time. It's not even about that. It's like we're humans before we're sex. We're humans before we're sexuality. You know what I mean? And I think it's time that everybody will start thinking of everybody that way. So that way everybody, these women, will eventually, and hopefully, I did, my movie was in the Seattle International Film Festival, and they put me in under genre of woman director. Which, maybe the next time we'll have African-American director. Is that also a genre? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so, of course, I busted them on it, and I'm sure I'll never do the Seattle Film Festival again, but whatever. Cry me a river. But these ladies sound punk. And I like the idea, like, I would love to get to a point where it's not female directors, just directors. It's a gender-neutral position. But I really want to check it out. Thank you for that.
So, in closing, what do you have on the horizon? Your film, anything else in the works?
I have 3 films I'm lined up to direct. One I'm writing is the origin story of the cult I grew up in. And it's set before me. It's like prequel to my life. It's set in Albatross, Texas in 1971. And I have 3 shows, docuseries that I've created that I'm doing with a big company in LA. And I am singing now again, but this time I've sang actually under different names for years for soundtracks. You guys wouldn't know who they are since it's just different names. Because the climate at the time was like, it was not a knock on Lindsay Lohan, she just happened to put out a record right when I kind of started singing, and I was like, oh fuck. I mean, not about her, but because actors would get made fun of, whereas in the past, you had to be a triple threat. You had to sing, you had to dance, you had to act. So I'm doing that, and I'm recording an album right now. I'm writing my autobiography, and that'll be interesting. And it stops at 19. It starts with me running through a cornfield, escaping a man with a hammer chasing after me when I was 5, and that's true. And it goes from there. And other than that, the 3 movies are all like very strong. One woman is an institution, and then gets out and may or may not be in reality. So I like to play with what is and what isn't, and what is our reality. There's a show I'm doing that's the origin story of a certain drug. It's like an HBO caliber show. It's being written right now. So good. And it's I started playing one day. I started thinking about what happened if someone had dementia and they took acid as one of the things. And the show kind of sprung from that. So I'm doing a lot of research like on Aleister Crowley, and he took acid on his deathbed, which is kind of fascinating. Young minds don't get polluted. Don't do drugs. There.
Well, Rose, thank you very much for everything that you do.
I know. Thank you. Know that if you're considered weird in your neck of the woods, that is fucking alright, because the alternative is not good.